right, what is going on, everyone? Elliot here from MovieFiles, here to discuss the latest series from Netflix in collaboration with A24, one of my favorite producing companies out there. So when I saw A24, I was excited. Netflix has been kind of hit or miss for me the last few years. Their series tend to be a lot better than some of their movies. But then you have the cast of Steven Yeun, Ali Wong, the people behind the scenes, the supporting cast. This is a show I was very excited for. And today we're going to be discussing, is it one of the best series so far this year? And is it something you all will be watching? We'll be getting to that in today's discussion. And I'm not alone, unlike these two people that are broken people and want to be along for all their terrible decisions. But I am not alone today. I'm going to bring a special guest in to talk all things about this series. But before we do me a favor. If you, number one, if you enjoyed the series, hit the thumbs up. If you enjoyed the conversation, of course, hit the thumbs up. But more importantly, we want to talk to you all about this show because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those talked about shows for not just the week that it comes out, but for weeks and months later. And hey, it might get some Emmy nominations because I think it deserves it. I think it's that good of a show. But we'll get into my thoughts here in a second. But again, I want to know your thoughts in the comments. And when I bring my guests in, do me a favor. All the information will be in the description of this video. So check out their content, subscribe to their content. We got a lot of great stuff. So let me bring in my co-host with this discussion today. He's been on the channel before. So excited to pick his brain on the show because there's just so much to dive into. Talking about the one and only Yutaka, representing the horror hour. What is going on?
How's it going? Happy to
It's
be
good,
back.
man. Got a good series to talk about today. So things are going good. How about yourself?
Really good. I'm actually really excited to talk about this because, yeah, I'm the only one on our group that's seen this. So I was just like, I need to talk to somebody. And it's honestly thanks to you that it got put back on my radar because I was like, I'm not going to get those. But I'm happy I did.
Here we are talking about it. But hey, man, again, you've been on the channel before. We talked Scream, we talked The Last of Us, and now we're talking this. So obviously, always have a great time talking about these shows and movies with you. But if this is the first time people are seeing you, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know where they can find your content?
Yeah, so normally I do cover mostly horror content, some thrillers. We're working on other stuff, but you can find me at the Horror Hour TV with a group of other individuals, and we just like to get gutted and rotted and hopefully make you all laugh and smile.
And I can endorse that. They have a great time on their platform covering a variety of different things that I grew up with in horror, things that we love now in horror. And they also have like a lot of other things too. Like I know you guys are doing a lot of new live streams talking about just other shows and movies outside of the horror genre. So it is a fantastic channel with a group of awesome people. So you guys should definitely check them out. Again, link can be found in the description of this video. So, Yutaka, I figured we kind of, just for those that might not have 10 hours to binge the show, or less than 10 hours, so about 30 minutes an episode, but just in case they haven't seen the series and the complete story, we just kind of talk briefly about spoiler-free portion, and then we'll dive into some spoiler talk a little bit later. So, initial impressions first. So, starting off with Yutaka, what did you... general impressions after you got done watching the series? Was it one of those series with Netflix where it's all dropped at once? So did you watch it all at once? Did you break it up into sections and days? What was your experience like with Beef?
Well, I mean, as soon as after I finished the first episode, I was like, I'm just powering through this entire thing. I need to finish this because I think for me personally, I just was excited to see this cast.
Yeah.
And then just the writing was so good. But I loved it was basically actions and consequences. And
Yes.
you are correct. These are two broken people in different
Yeah.
ways
Mm-hmm.
and just in different also relationships that I
Yeah.
thought was very interesting where, you know, Ali Wong's character, she's married to he's an idiot. Lovable, but an
Poor
idiot.
George.
Oh my God. George, like I felt so bad for him, but he's he's old money who's just
Yeah.
been very well taken care of, and
Yep.
but I really adored his character. And then you've got Danny though, who is a huge people pleaser and cares about his image,
Mm-hmm.
and just but at what cost? And so I
Yeah.
loved just seeing that. And then of course those two just effing each other's lives up.
That is a perfect way to describe this series. And for those two that are, again, this is our spoiler-free portion. The premise is pretty simple. You have a incident of road rage that slowly consumes the two main characters, which again we have Steven Yeun and Ali Wong. Steven plays Danny, who Yutaka was just describing. He is someone that is, I couldn't really put an age on the characters. I would say he was in his late 30s per se. He
Want to
is
say,
a
yeah.
Yeah, he's a handyman, or if you ask him, he's a contractor who has his parents back in Korea, and he wants to bring his parents home. So in order to do that, he has to work hard. Meanwhile, he has his younger brother Paul. In today's society, wants to kind of find the easy way to money, whether it's cryptocurrency or just trying to make a quick buck. But he's very young and very much so follows his brother's footsteps, and not the best way possible. And then we move over to Ali Wong's character, who plays Amy, who's an entrepreneur, has her own business. And like you had mentioned, she's married to George, who comes from money, where she is the complete opposite. She had to kind of work to where she got to, and she's kind of the breadwinner of the home. He's kind of a stay-at-home dad. He thinks he's an artist, makes his vases because his dad is like this famous artist, and he's trying to follow his footsteps, but not that great, as his mother, who we'll talk about later, describes. But we meet Danny at a low spot in his life. He is pretty upset, and he gets into a situation on the road, and it leads to this domino effect of just pettiness to the highest degree possible. And it leads to, and by the way, it kind of sounds like a comedy, which there are some comedic beats in this show. But Yutaka, I did not expect this show to get as dark as it did. It went down some very dark paths. What did you think about kind of the tonal shifts of comedy, drama, relatability, darkness? How do you feel about the way the show handled the themes and the different tones?
Well, I honestly, if it didn't have the comedy, this would be,
Pretty bleak.
I think it would be really heavy to
Yeah,
digest because it
right.
goes in so many different ways. And there's so much to, in a sense, that you can want to say, like, to search for that American dream. But,
Mm,
it just depends on how you view it. To see Danny want to work so hard to bring his parents over, which
right.
when we talk about how that all plays out, it's very fascinating to me
Yeah.
because that there is that culture.
Right,
Um,
right.
and Amy, though, she's so stressed and
Yeah,
tense
yeah.
because she is just trying to be seen as something of an accomplishment
Mhm, mhm.
while her husband didn't really have to do anything
Right, right, kinda all
because of who
falls
his
in his
family.
lap.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's, I mean, even when you see their house, like,
Right, which her
it
mother-in-law hated, which
oh,
that relationship was very interesting.
it was interesting, and it was, I really did enjoy, I think, probably the comedic aspect that worked really great in this because it's primarily an all Asian American
Mhm,
cast,
mhm.
to have the token white lady.
The White Devil, as they called them
I
throughout this various shows.
I mean, I was like, that's appropriate for this show.
Yeah,
That's really great. So, um, yeah, I really found that to be quite humorous. So,
yeah.
but yeah, but I guess the themes or the message, though. I mean, this is truly all about mental health, in my
Oh,
opinion,
yeah.
but I
Yep.
really did appreciate it and how it was presented.
It is 100%, as the genre alludes to, a comedy drama. And also, let me just kind of backtrack as far as this created by Lee Jin, who I'm not too familiar with his work. I think this is one of his bigger projects that he's done. And he does such a great job of just, as you just alluded to, handling the comedy, which was much needed because it does get very dark. We find out who these people are, where they come from, how they were raised, how they both of them were kind of taught at a young age to kind of suppress their emotions. And when that happens, sometimes it comes out in the form of road rage. So it definitely tackles that side of what happens when you do not allow your emotions to fully come out, or when you keep them bottled in and you try to just put a smile on your face when you're really crying inside. So I thought that the drama of it all was fantastic. You touched on it earlier. This is one of the best written shows I've seen in a very long time because it's so many things. And it's one of those shows, too, for those that are on the fence of watching it, they should watch it. Definitely do so. It's one of those shows where things have payoffs, where you introduce certain things in the very beginning and it has a huge payoff towards the second half of the show, especially when certain reveals happen. So the writing's excellent. I thought the direction was really solid, and the performances, not only from our main cast, our main two leads, Steven Yin and Ali Wong, but Fumi and Paul, George. We'll talk, he has an uncle or a cousin named Isaac, who is a character we'll talk more about in the spoilers. And as you mentioned, the White Devil, Jordan, is billionaire woman who's trying to steal culture and tries to appropriate herself and says the most like weird things. Great
Most
performance by her.
inappropriate.
So many, just like shut up. But again, as Amy's trying to find her way in and doesn't tell Jordan, doesn't tell the people that say wrong things that they should be corrected. So it's just not only the leads but the supporting cast. Everyone has like a moment throughout the series. Random character like Naomi, who we meet later in the season or in the beginning, but she has a little bit of a big reveal towards the second half. So everyone has a moment to shine. There's great payoffs, and it just all comes together for just one of the most interesting stories I have seen in a while. Again, you look at episode 1, I did not anticipate us to get from A to Z and everything in between. It's just pure chaos. That comes to mind, pure chaos.
I truly thought it was going to be heavy on the comedy, but I think towards the end, it kind of
the further we
the
go,
roles.
it gets darker, it gets real, and you learn more about these characters. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And I never felt bored. I never felt like I knew where it was going. It was always a surprise every single corner, especially the way. And sometimes the conversation about Netflix, the whole binging mentality and how they frame their shows, where they kind of each episode ends on a cliffhanger, so you can keep watching next episode. Versus if it was like week to week, maybe it wouldn't have that type of appeal where you have to like, oh, I got to see what's happening next. So I love the way that they shaped each episode, because at the end of each episode, you're like, well, I got to see what happens next because I need to know what's going on. It was a great
real
binge.
Character development that was just really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I didn't like the characters or like it didn't end well, it was just, oh man. I just was not expecting. I mean, I'm not familiar with the writer's work, so this was just, and then to see now what he's getting, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so excited.
For those to that point, what Yutaka was referring to, if you guys are any Marvel or movie fans, pretty much the writer and creator of the show, the director who directed like 8 of the 10 episodes or 7 of 10 episodes, and the star of this, one of the stars, Stevie Yeun, they're all been recruited by Marvel, so they will be a part of the Thunderbolts with Lee's going to be writing it. Jake's going to be directing it, and Stevie, and right now everyone's thinking he's going to play the villain of the film, but we'll see what comes of it. But Marvel, they have a good team on their hands. They must have, Kevin Feige must have saw the pre-screeners, were like, can we get them on the phone? Let's get all of that. Can we get, maybe Ali Wong's going to be in the next Avengers? Just pull the whole
I wouldn't be
cast
mad. Like, make that a cameo.
I'm here for it. So I guess final thoughts before we get into the real the meat of this show. Any favorite characters or episodes? And I guess without spoiling anything, was there anything about the show that maybe didn't entirely work for you?
I think because I really was not expecting the certain outcome to be so bloody, because I just did not expect to see something like that in this show. And I mean, I chuckled, but I was just like, ooh. I was like, okay, that works. I'm happy, but it was like, it was very jarring. Just I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, I know. Do you have a favorite character of the show?
I liked both the leads, but I think Amy, because it touches on something that, I mean, both the characters, but hers specifically in terms of, in the Asian culture, it is very much mental health isn't discussed, or it is about suppressing your emotions. And that is what she did for so much of this. And when she did let it out, it would be just this rage. And I was like, that it was just so perfectly played, and I thought well written, that I really enjoyed her character the most, even though I think she was also the worst.
And we'll dive into that. Was definitely a question I wanted to pose. Who was between the two characters? They were both pretty easy to relate to. You rooted for them both, but they were both terrible people. But I think, to your point, I think Amy definitely kind of took it another notch with some things that she does a little bit later in the series. But to answer my own question, I don't necessarily have a favorite episode, but I think for me, the first half was just a little bit more engaging and exciting, and nothing that the second half wasn't, but it's just, I feel like that first 4 to 5 episodes were just excellent, just built to just so much greatness. If I had a favorite character, I guess I'll just be opposite. I'll say Stephen Yeun, because him and Amy are very similar. But what I can relate to more with with his character is just this idea of just trying to appease people, him trying to appease his parents, and trying to be his big brother, and show that he's just living this life that and he has this so much bottled in, and he's always trying to do so much, and it just comes out in this volcano of aggression. And then I would pick him also too, because he's not as Amy did some wild things, man. We'll talk about her gun obsession, her sexual kinks that she has. It's like, Amy, you got a lot of trauma and drama going on. So I'll go with Danny, just for the fact that he didn't have as much stuff as Amy did. But if I were to have any criticisms, we talked about it off camera. The end of the show, episode 9 was great, and I think they should have ended at episode 9. Episode 10 has some great self-reflection moments that we'll talk about in the spoiler portion. Very trippy conversation being had. There's some crows that reappear that we'll definitely talk about. But
okay, maybe that part too. That was
So the finale didn't entirely stick the landing. If I were to say anything with the criticisms, and then some of the secondary characters, I wish they would have explored just a little bit further. They introduced some things with supporting characters, like I think of Naomi and her kind of obsession to want to be accepted, and her kind of kink that she has, and Fumi's backstory. So some of the secondary characters, I wish we would have expanded on a little bit more, but that's just more of a nitpick more than anything. But the ending is probably the thing that I dislike the most. So, hey, that is our spoiler-free portion of Beef. So like I said up top, if you guys were either on the fence, first time hearing about it, that's our initial thoughts. I think we can collectively say, Yutaka, people should watch this show.
Yeah, I would have to agree that right now, so far, I mean, we're only in April, but
so early.
this is I didn't expect this to be so high.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to see it, but after seeing it, I'm like, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, especially from Ali Wong too, who's typically a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
This like blew
That's a
me
great
away.
point, man. I've always said the comedians can always get to those dark spots. Like I think of Jim Carrey, how he's able to get dark, Steve Carell, Jordan Peele. I mean, they always make you laugh, but they have some of the darkest stories. So I totally agree with you on that point.
Definitely
Must see TV. Must see.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, guys. So, hey, that's our spoiler-free portion. For those that have seen the series and want to talk more spoilers, you can watch the rest of this discussion, which I'll leave in the description of this video. If you enjoyed the conversation, like, share, comment, subscribe. My guest here, his information can be found in the description of this video. So there you go. Bye, non-spoiler people.